everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're having a special anniversary edition to celebrate me reaching 100 subs. Woo! In the channel trailer that I made last time, I got a few comments from people saying they would really like to see what I do in the kitchen, so I thought I would include some real life footage this time. So I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna be here in a square or on the screen depending on how my editor decides to do it, sort of telling you what I'm doing and maybe explaining some things, and yeah, I don't know, I've never tried doing something without a script, so this might be a little rambly, but here we go. Okay, so first up, I'm doing some salmon, and while we're at it, why don't we do a little fish tier list, because I handle fish all day, every day, and I have very strong feelings about each and every single one of them. So, since I'm starting with salmon, I would definitely put salmon in the S rank. You can do fucking anything with salmon. It's so easy to cut. Right now I'm actually cutting it with a sujihiki, which is not technically the knife that you would usually use for cutting sushi. Usually we use a yanagiba, but I use the sujihiki because we usually cut the salmon while it is frozen. If it's not frozen, it's going to be incredibly slippery. You'll probably notice that super fancy chefs don't put paper towels under their fish, but super fancy chefs maybe have mastered the art of not having their fish slip all over the fucking place. I have not discovered that method, so here it goes. Either way, yes, salmon is probably my favorite fish, and it's also incredibly cheap to find and prepare, so if you go to a sushi place and they have shit salmon, run away. All of the other fish is going to be even worse. If you can't get fresh salmon, you've failed. That sounds so rude. Anyway, next up is tuna, and I'm probably gonna have to put tuna in A, because it's not quite as versatile as salmon, but it can be. Let's put it like this. Great tuna is amazing, but mediocre tuna is not as good as mediocre salmon, so I'm gonna have to put it in A just for that. There's not as much you can do with tuna, I think. But if you can get your hands on fatty tuna, you have reached nirvana. Like, that is the end game. Also, I don't handle white tuna, but white tuna is my favorite type of tuna. Maybe after otoro. Fatty tuna is amazing, but white tuna is definitely up there. White tuna is actually an S rank for me, just because I love it so much. Torch tuna is also pretty damn good. You will notice that for the tuna I'm using the yanagiba, because the tuna we always cut it fresh, right after the chef portions it into the saku blocks. You can go watch a sushi chef doing the saku blocks on YouTube, I'm not gonna film my boss. I should probably mention at this point that I'm not a sushi master. I've been doing this for 4 years, so you might be seeing things that you're like, oh, that's not how the master chefs do it. You're absolutely right. I didn't start cutting fish until 2 years into my job, and I'm still shit at doing a lot of fish. I only cut about half the fish that we served clients. Oh, and here's me making some nigiri. Why not? Usually when I cut tuna, I save the end pieces for myself because they're ugly and we can't sell them, but I also like tuna, so perfect. Next up is whitefish. I would put whitefish in like a B tier because whitefish is not amazing, but it's really harmless. Like, it's hard to hate whitefish because it doesn't taste like much, and it has a very mild texture as well. This particular whitefish that I'm cutting is fluke, and fluke is incredibly easy to fillet. I mean, I say this after I fucked it up many times, but now at this point in my life, it's easy for me to fillet. Here I'm cutting another type of whitefish, which is striped bass. Where I'm from, this is a local fish, and I personally like striped bass so much better than fluke. It is a bitch to fillet, you will see. I'll show some footage of me actually filleting this fish. It has fucking spikes on its fins, which is ridiculous. That fish wants to hurt you. It's like, you killed me, you want to portion me, you want to eat me, I want to stab you. It is such a piece of shit, but it tastes so good, so it's worth the pain. I know it's a whitefish, so technically it doesn't taste like much, but it's almost sweet? I don't know, I really liked striped bass. Anyway, here's another angle, so you can see me cutting the fish from another angle. You'll notice that I have to cut it really thick. It's not actually that thick if you think about it, but it's a very, very fragile fish, so you need to cut it thick or else it'll fall apart in your mouth. Or actually, no, it's gonna fall apart when I try to put it away. Why do we pre-cut the fish like this, you might think? Well, because we're not a 5-star restaurant, and when people want their sushi, they want it now. So that's why I'm putting it away and not cutting it to order. But it's all usually used within a day or two, so no worries, it is fresh. When you see me cutting those little strips with a yanagi knife on it, that's usually if the piece of fish is a little too thick, we cut little strips on it to make it fold on top of the rice nicely. You'll probably see this more often on squid. Squid is almost always cut up like that, because of the texture it has. Anyway, whitefish, a solid B. It's hard to hate it, hard to love it too. I don't think it's anyone's favorite fish, but who knows? Everyone has different favorites. Now, I don't cut this fish. I don't have footage of this fish here, but Yellowtail. Yellowtail for me is complicated, and it can be A tier, it can be B tier. It really depends on how fresh it is. Good, fresh Yellowtail is fucking amazing. It's such a buttery fish, I love it. But if it's even slightly old, it can turn fishy and gross so fast. Fresh Yellowtail, amazing. Not so fresh Yellowtail, Because sometimes, for example, with salmon, which is an S tier, even if it's slightly old salmon, it doesn't taste that awful, but Yellowtail immediately turns bad, and that fucking sucks. Anyway, moving on, Squid. Squid is great, except it's just like Yellowtail. Just like Yellowtail, it gets old so fast and gets grimy and yellow instead of white, and it's do not recommend old squid, 0 out of 10. But fresh squid I would put in B tier. You really need to like the texture to like it. Octopus. I love cutting octopus. I don't have any footage of it, sadly. I need to get my hands on that, but cutting an octopus is the most fun thing to do for me because it can't hurt me. I have never cut myself cutting an octopus, but I have cut myself cutting every other fish, so I love octopus for the fact that it doesn't try to hurt me back. And it tastes great. I love the texture, I love the taste, I love everything about octopus, but it's not for everyone, and it's not as versatile as salmon, because you can't really eat it raw. I mean, you can, but we don't. Our octopus is boiled, so I'm gonna put it an A. Next up, shrimp. If you like octopus, you'll probably like shrimp, because they have pretty much the same texture, and it's just that shrimp has more of a taste than octopus does, which sometimes can be good and sometimes can be bad. I love to put my octopus in takoyaki. Oh wow, it's almost like it's meant to go in there. Because it doesn't need to have much of a taste, but then for shrimp, I want shrimp fried rice rather than octopus fried rice because then it actually tastes like something, and it's not just chewy nothingness. Yes. So, shrimp, I'm going to put this in A tier too because I really, really like it. Okay, next up, mackerel. Mackerel. Now this, I hate. So many people love mackerel. I think it's a love or hate relationship because mackerel is one of those really fishy fish. Like, if you like strong flavors, mackerel is great, and if you don't, then you'll hate it. It is such a smelly fish. And we marinate ours, and it smells everywhere. It's so oily, and it gets on my hands. It makes me unhappy. It does not spark joy. For me, mackerel is like a D. None of my fish will be an F because you can't, I mean, if you like sushi, nothing is F for you. You just love it. What else? Eel! Eel is fucking S tier! I don't care if it's not versatile, I fucking love eel, and it's going to be right up there. It makes me happy, it sparks so much joy. I also cut eel, and cutting eel is one of my favorite things to do, and I always sneak little pieces of eel while I'm cutting it. Don't tell my boss. I think that's it for the fishes? Question mark? Yeah, that's it. I'm not gonna put tamago or inari because they're not fish, even though they're technically part of most sushi menus. Next up is not always fun in games at work. Sometimes there's a lot of pain involved. One time I had to cut up 3 kilograms of onions, which is roughly 5 fucking pounds, and that was painful. I cried a river. Insert Justin Timberlake Cry Me a River joke right here. It was not fun. You can probably smell this picture through the screen right now. It became curry. Yes, that's why it happened. That's why I did that. It was painful. Anyway, one of the last things that I do that I would like to share with you is pork buns. I make pork buns and curry buns and sweet red bean buns, but I only filmed the pork buns here. I pre-made the mixture, and then I'm showing you how to fold them. I will warn you that this is not the best or fanciest folding method. In fact, at work, oftentimes we have little discussions or debates on how we should fold these buns, because technically we fold them like the real average Joe kind of way, and some people think we should try and make them more fancy, like with the funky gyoza skin type folds. But then when you look up Google images of a pork bun, you see the average Joe folding on it. So this is kind of what I'm going with, because to be honest, I'm not a master at this, so it's easier to do it the average Joe way, because I am an average Joe. That works. And then here's a little bit of footage of me sexually abusing my buns, because I like to shape them like boobs, and then I like to touch them.
It's a metaphor.
He can relate. So that's about all the footage that I have for now. I'm going to try to keep getting footage of me doing stuff if people are actually interested in seeing this kind of stuff that I do in the kitchen in my regular day-to-day job, because this is technically my full-time job. I do YouTube videos on the side, which is insane and takes a lot of time, and I don't have free time. What is that? Free time, who is she? But if you want to see more of these, then I'll probably include it in another anniversary video, so if you want to see more of this, please like and subscribe. Because actually 90% of people who watch my channel are not subscribed, so there's a lot of you out there. I know you're there. I can see you. Make me press the button. I forgot to mention, some of you might be confused on why there's sometimes text on my videos that doesn't really match what I'm saying. That's because there's 2 of us. Red Panda Reels was always 2 people. Me and my partner started this channel together. We're co-writers, and I'm sort of the face and the voice of this channel, but he is the editor, so every single text you see on the screen is usually added by him. So if it's completely opposite from what I'm saying, that's because he's a completely different person. So say hi to... What do you want to be? Bear or horse?
Bear horse.
Bear horse. Say hi to bear horse. Say hi to the bear horse, give him some love. He makes all these funny things on screen happen for you. And he deserves just as much love. Thank you so much, dear. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time!